All right, so this weekend it is UFC 330. They are back in Philadelphia, and Islam Makhachev is once again defending the throne, this time in the welterweight division. The four-time title defender in the lightweight division, Islam Makhachev looks to set history, defending the belt in multiple categories and against a very irritating opponent. Ian Garry has got a very irritating style. Some might find him an irritating person.
For Makhachev, the path to victory is straightforward. Cut off the cage, attack the legs, turn it into a wrestling match. Once Garry is taken down, the space disappears, movement dries up, and Makhachev layers pressure from dominant positions. His footwork and takedown defense need to be exceptional to keep this fight standing and stop Makhachev from settling into rhythm.
But we know what Ian's going to do. He's going to dance around. He's going to pick him apart. He's going to be on his bike, okay? Because he's a smart guy. Now, when I say he's an irritating fighter, I'm not leaning into all the stuff that he said about him online. And by the way, he responded really well to all that stuff. He said, I don't care, right? I know that stuff that you see online, it's not the real world. Anytime he interacts with anybody...
Alvarez is a calculated fighter who knows exactly where his advantages lie, and that makes his path against Chidi easy to read. He'll look to secure the takedown, establish control, and immediately start hunting for a submission. That approach takes Chidi's striking out of the equation and forces the fight into the area where Alvarez is most dangerous, on the mat, working for the finish. It's a simple game plan on paper, built entirely around Alvarez's biggest strength, and it puts the pressure on Chidi to prove he can keep the fight standing long enough to make it matter. He enters the welterweight picture with an impressive resume and a submission-heavy record that makes his jiu-jitsu impossible to ignore. Even with a surprising loss by arm triangle on his record, his ground game remains a major threat. His long frame also helps in striking exchanges. Against another tall fighter, this matchup gets especially interesting. Reach, positioning, and grappling entries could all play a role. The question is how he approaches a similarly imposing opponent. Fighting defensively for 25 minutes takes real cardio, discipline, and mental strength, qualities Garry has already shown. He's operated in hostile environments without abandoning his plan, even with the crowd against him. Staying locked on strategy instead of chasing approval is one of his biggest advantages. But Makhachev has a way of turning a technical fight into a physical one. The question is whether Garry can hold that composure once the pressure becomes constant.
Gets a hold of them, and more importantly, when he gets them up against the fence. Sometimes when he shoots out in the open, you can stuff those takedowns like Dustin Poirier did. But when he gets you up against the fence, wrestling on the fence is a very, very different thing. And if he does that, it's going to be curtains for Ian Garry, because when he gets them down and he gets on top, the top control is on a different level.
Provocative is the perfect word for Garry's persona. From his lifestyle choices to his controversial opinions, it reads like a deliberate way to grab attention and get under people's skin. Makhachev is almost the opposite. He rarely needs to manufacture attention because his performances do the talking. That contrast adds another layer to an already intriguing matchup. Garry may try to create psychological pressure before the fight, but the question is whether any of it matters once the cage door closes.
Of course, and to fight on the back foot for 25 minutes is a very, very hard thing. Now, he has done that a lot of the time, and I will give Ian his credit because he's not bothered if the entire arena is booing, if everyone's just...
This is the toughest test of Islam Makhachev's career. He's jumping up to welterweight to face Ian Machado Garry, who claims he's already faced tougher competition than Makhachev has. Bold words for a fighter about to share the cage with one of the sport's most dominant champions. Does his resume actually support that? Two different styles, two different personalities, a main event that could explode at any moment. And the bigger question, what's really driving Garry's provocative side?
And you know what? He might actually have a point, but we'll talk about that later. It is a very interesting matchup. Can Ian the vegan, the full vegan, he's on soy, pea, you name it, he's on it.
This is the future. And the future is powered by plants.
Whereas Islam Makhachev running his own farm, you know that man is on
Garry's unconventional plant.
Makhachev's grappling reaches another level near the fence. His ability to control, drag opponents down, and pin them turns the cage into a weapon. For Garry, that's the start of a very difficult sequence. A takedown from Makhachev is rarely just a takedown. It can lead into positional control, ground and pound, submission attempts, and another takedown before he can recover.
The pound is really strong and nasty. The submission threat obviously is very, very high level, but the control that he has.
Gary's claim that he's faced tougher competition is bold, especially given his run at welterweight. He points to bigger, more complete challenges, arguing his opponents represent a different level. But a strong divisional record isn't the same as facing multiple champions and elite-level grapplers. That distinction matters a lot when the man across from him is Islam Makhachev.
His record, of course, is littered with nothing but, big names. Yes, the first fight at welterweight against the champion was against Jack de la Maddalena, and before that it was Renato Moicano. Moicano's a great fighter. Jack de la Maddalena had all the makings of a tremendous welterweight champion. It's just that the division is absolutely stacked, and Islam Makhachev, maybe the greatest pound-for-pound fighter in the sport right now, decided to...
Makhachev's ideal finish is simple and brutally effective. Get Gary to the fence, take the back, secure it, and hunt the choke. That sequence is the foundation of his entire grappling system. Gary may thrive on confrontation as the outspoken anti-hero, but none of that matters if Makhachev keeps imposing that game plan. The test is staying out of those positions.
She will go forward, she will engage, and she will swing. The only problem was, in the past, sometimes the chin was a little high and the defense was a little bit open. There was a lot of openings for counters and stuff like that, and she started getting a little sluggish and swinging her punches. Everything now has been tightened up. I know that's been one of the big focuses for Jason Perillo, so I expect everything to be nice and tight. On the feet, I favour Mackenzie Dern. On the ground,
Gary is known for surviving tough grappling situations, including going the distance with Shavkat Rakhmonov without being submitted. But Makhachev is a different kind of threat. His ground and pound is dangerous, his submission game is advanced, and his positional control can be suffocating. Gary has shown cracks on the ground before, and Makhachev is exactly the kind of fighter who can find them. Mackenzie Dern has been working with Jason Perillo to sharpen her striking and tighten her defense. She was once criticized for defensive holes and a high guard, and this evolution could make her a far more dangerous fighter. It reflects a broader commitment to being well-rounded, exactly what you'd expect from a title contender. The question is whether that precision shows up when the pressure is highest. Islam Makhachev's resume is stacked with elite names, one of the best pound-for-pound fighters alive. Moving up to welterweight reshapes the division and shows how confident he is in his game. Every contender now has to prepare for a different level of grappling pressure, Gary included. The question is whether he's ready for that kind of control.
Height will be, speed will be, takedown defense 100% is what this fight's all going to be about. And whether or not Islam Makhachev can cut off the cage, get him up against the fence, corral him against the fence, grab a leg, take him down. If he does...
Machado Garry's strategy is just as clear. Move, create distance, pick his opponent apart, never stay a stationary target. He's an intelligent fighter, built much of his success on movement and composure, and outside criticism hasn't easily broken his focus. But being hard to hit and hard to rattle is one thing, consistently escaping Makhachev's suffocating control is another. The real test comes when the cage starts shrinking around him.
Say, or ruffle a few feathers at times, you know what I'm saying? And you know what I'm talking about, with whether it's the vegan stuff, whether it's the women should rule the world stuff, or there's been a few, take your pick, right?
Like, if the world was run by women, we'd all live in a better world. Like, it would all be simpler and easier. That's the fact.
Whereas Islam Makhachev is very much, he's just, he's stoic.
Gary's lifestyle and philosophy have become part of his public image, and that adds another layer to this fight. He represents a completely different worldview from the hard-edged culture built around Makhachev and Dagestan. It's two radically different approaches to competition. The real question, can Gary's movement-heavy style hold up against a Dagestani champion's relentless grappling pressure?
They do. Now, yes, for their divisions, but Ian Gary's fighting bigger, better, stronger people, more well-rounded threats. So I will give it to Ian Gary on that one. When you compare the five names, it probably is more impressive for Ian Gary. What you've got to ask yourself is this question here. Would Jack Della Maddalena, Renato Moicano, Dustin Poirier and Alexander Volkan...
Dern's confident prediction of a fifth-round rear naked choke says a lot about how much faith she has in her endurance and grappling. She expects to wear Robertson down with her boxing, keep control, avoid being taken down herself, and eventually find the finish. It's a clear game plan built around her biggest strengths, but executing it against a tough opponent is a different challenge.
17 submissions overall.